Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Anarita Bashaliva, along with co-hosts Dr. Victor Fett, Dr. Katerina Shrey, and our program producer, Professor Larry Shrey. We host a weekly discussion panel on Russia's war on Ukraine with guests from Ukraine, military experts, medical personnel, academics, artists, literary figures, and relief workers. Our panel is recorded and circulated nationally and internationally. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Special thanks to Marshall University Libraries and MUIT for making this weekly event possible. If you are joining us live on Teams, please feel free to use the chat to post any question for our guest. A quick greetings to our viewers in Ukraine from Dr. Katerina Shrey.
Вітаємо наших слухачів в Україні з глибоким поклоном. Ми далі свідки вашого страшного терпіння і також вашої великої сили. Дякую вам за вашу участь в нашій тижневій програмі.
Thank you, Katerina. Today's guest will be introduced by Dr. Victor Fett.
Thank you, Anna. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce our friend and contributor, Dr. Mykola Konopinsky, who joins us from Germany. Dr. Konopinsky is a native of Odesa, as well as part of my family, I must say. And he agreed to talk to us today about this wonderful city, its history, and the Odesites. Please, Mykola, microphone is yours, and I will share your slides.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, everybody, for this invitation. I am very, very proud to be a part of this podcast and weekly discussion of Ukraine. The topic of Odesa as a Russian city is the most active and important for Russian propaganda. No other Ukrainian city is the subject of such massive propaganda attack as Odesa is. Today, I would like to share with you some historical facts about the city and its inhabitants. So please, the next slide, Victor. So Catherine II subordinated the foreign policy of Russia to so-called Greek project. The Greek project means to conquest the Greece and got access to the straits, the Bosporus and the Dardanelles. For this purpose, she even named her second grandson Constantine. He was to become king of Constantinople, so New Greece. The first war against Ottoman Empire ended with the signing the Treaty of Kuchuk-Karanji. In addition to the significant territories, Russia managed to achieve a federal status for Crimean Khaganate, which allowed it to annex Crimea 9 years later. In the same time, between 1772 and 1793, Russia, together with Prussia and Austria, divided Poland 3 times. As a result of third partition, Poland disappeared from the map of Europe for next 124 years. In 1773, the Peasant War broke out under the leadership of Emelian Pugachev. The bulk of his army consisted of Ukrainians. They were peasants who had fled Sardom and Zaporozhian Kazakhs, dissatisfied with Catherine's policies. The war lasted 2 years and ended with defeat for rebels. In the same years, 1775, Catherine destroyed Zaporozhian Sich. The Zaporozhian Sich was a democratic republic within Russia Imperium with autonomy. So Catherine feared that surviving Ukrainians from Pugachev's army would return to the Zaporozhian siege and straighten this autonomy. So she destroyed it. And in 1783, Russia annexed Crimea and Kuban and carried out mass purges of the local population, the Crimean Tatars and Nogays. In the place of Nogays, who were killed and expelled from their land, he exiled tens of thousands of Ukrainians to Kuban. In 1787, Russia unleashed the Second Ottoman War, which resulted in occupation of the northern Black Sea region, the territory between the Danube and the southern Buk River. So please, next slide with a map. So yes, thank you. You have now the map of the where is all this wars was. So at the Black Sea, Odessa, and you have a northern part of Crimea, and here is Kuban. So as you can see, all this territory, it was original Ukrainian territory. Also, if it was in Poland or so you can see as Lviv and Ternopil, Khmelnytsky, Zhytomyr, it's always originated Ukrainian territory. And so this all war activity caused a lot of migration. The Ukrainian fled from Russia, Russian power, first to the Ottoman Imperium here in Crimea and Kuban. But after the last war, 1791, there was no place for fleet for Ukrainian. So they stay on this territorium in the northern of Black Sea. And in this land, Russia pursued the policy of terror against the civilian population and introduced serfdom everywhere. Ukrainian doesn't know what is mean serfdom. And by the way, you can see this part of 1775. It's Zaporozhskaya Sich. But the territorium of Zaporozhskaya Sich was from this green line until the Don River. Its all territorium was Zaporozhskaya Sich. It was a relative big republic in the part of Russia. So, and and then on the new territory at the site of Odessa was a Turkish city, Hagi Bey, with a port. The harbor was convenient for mooring and known even by ancient Greece, who used it to come here. Catherine ordered to expand this port and the city. Based on the plans of Greek project, she gave all new cities Greek's name. This would make it easier to justify Russian claims to Greece. This is now Sevastopol, Simferopol, Mariupol, Kherson, and Odessa instead of Hagi Bay come into being. But there was a problem, the huge problem. Russia did not have enough free labor. More than 90% of population was slaves and belonged to someone. Catherine acted very wisely. She promised all migrants, fugitive peasants, and even criminals freedom from persecution if they settled in the new lands and worked for construction of the city and port. As the city and port grew, so did trade. More and more merchants, bankers, and interpreters come from all over Europe come to Odessa. The population of Odessa grew mainly due to migrants. Entire streets appeared here where people of the same nationality lived compactly. Большая and Malaya Arnautskaya streets, Bulgarian street, Jewish street, Italian street, German street, French boulevard, Polish descent, Lutheran lane, and even areas of compact migrant settlements, Moldavanka, Upper and Lower German Sloboda. The only thing missing from the historical map of the city is any trace of Russians. Until 1820, the city governors were exclusively foreigners. The Spaniard, Deribas, the Frenchman, Duke de Richelieu, and Langeron. And their names are reflected on the city map. Deribasovskaya Street, Richelievskaya Street, Langeronovskaya Street, Dukovsky Park, Langeron Beach. Of course, they attracted foreign specialists to build the city, specialists they knew and trusted. Thus, the first architect of Odessa was the Belgian de Volan. So the next slide, please. So we can say that chauvinism and mass punitive action by the Russian regime in the new territories led to their inhabitants flee to neighboring countries or to the free territory of Odessa. Ukrainians who did not want to be slaves of Russian landowners also fled here. The population of Odessa consisted exclusively of migrants. The vast majority of migrants were Ukrainians. People who were freedom-loving, proactive, and enterprising. Those who had no place under serfdom fled and migrated here. They had a mentality that was diametrically opposed to and aligned to what was a norm in Russia. For Russians, Odessa remained a place of exile until the end of the 19th century. The administrative apparatus and bureaucracy grew at the expense of foreigners and expelled Russians who had committed offenses. Does this sound familiar to you? Here is how the Mark Twain saw Odessa in 1869. So please, the next slide. The chapter of one of the book of Mark Twain. I will not read it. You can do it better than me.
Do you want me to read it?
I think everybody can read it, or
Well, if we keep this text long enough, of course we can read it. That's Mark Twain, 1869, The Innocents Abroad.
yeah.
Shame on me, I didn't know that he visited Odessa.
I didn't either. This is really interesting. Yeah, this is news to me as well.
There was not one thing to remind us that we were in Russia, he concludes. Look up the street or down the street, this way or that way, we saw only America. Well, what he means is wide cities, streets,
Well, it's like about
parks.
the modern, like the idea that this is not some dilapidated place. This is he's described it as a very modern city, which would maybe not be the general impression in 1869 of what was in Ukraine. Oh.
And he says it was 133,000 people in 1869. That's, I guess, larger than most American cities at this time.
Just for your information, it's not a part of my discussion today, but in this time, through Odessa port was exported the corn more than from all ports of United States together per year. It was really huge deal in Odessa. So the next slide, please.
Yes, sure. You're talking about grain.
Yeah, grain. Yeah.
Not corn like in maize. Grain in general.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Victor.
Okay. Next.
So the next slide is. So Odessa is home of today, and in the past was home of 130 nations and 80 ethnic groups. And in this sense, we can rightly compare it to the United States and say Odessa is completely unique phenomenon in the Russian Empire, which also it arose under its power, has no connection with the Russians, neither mental, nor cultural, nor ethnic. So the next slide, please. But the myth of Odessa as a Russian city is surprisingly persistent. So where does it come from? The next slide. The answer for this question is very simply, is a policy of forced Russification. So the Valuev circular was designed to destroy the Ukrainian national liberation movement. The Polish uprising of 1863 was in fact Polish-Ukrainian uprising and covered a significant part of Ukraine. The circular of Valuev is proof of where Russia saw the main source of separatism and main threat to the existing of the empire. There is no such documents toward the Polish language or culture, Georgian or Belarusia or Tatars, only against Ukrainian. So there was the Ems of Alexander II, Ems Ukaz, it's the same. The prohibited Ukrainian plays, theater, and books in Ukrainian language. Then was a prohibited teaching in the public schools, and to get a church ceremonies in Ukrainian language. So the next slide, please. So in 1884, Alexander III banned Ukrainian teacher not only in large cities, but also in the provinces. So you can see that also Ukrainian don't dare to give Ukrainian names according to Alexander order decree. Ukrainian names his children. Only Russian was possible. So the next slide, please. So after the Bolshevik October Revolution, repression intensified even further. So you can see by capturing the Kiev within a few days was shot 5,000 people only why they spoke Ukrainian, and man-made starvation. And in 1958, all languages other Russian may be studied only with request for students' parents. So anyone who requested such permission risked being accused of bourgeois Ukrainian nationalism. Yes. So the next slide, please. So in 1961, the USSR announced the policy of merging of nations into one, all nations into one, the Soviet people. This was to be achieved through the intensified Russification, because the Russian people were officially the elder brother of the family of the old peoples in the USSR. And in 1974, the party announcing that a new people, the Soviet people, had been created. So as you can see on this slide, 1970, there was an order. And this, yes, thank you. No, Victor, it's the last slide. Yeah. So it was an order to write all dissertation exclusively in Russian. So what could people of other nationalities who wanted to be scientists, doctors, artists, sailors, and so on to do? All education was conducted in Russian, all translated, all scientific, all medicine, everything was only in Russian. Russians were accepted without restriction into all university, especially those who trained state elite, civil servants, military personnel, and diplomats. People in this situation, people simply change their nationality in their passports. Anyone could become Russian. In order to record any other nationality in a passport, evidence had to be provided. So it was by myself experience, as my own experience as well. So that's let's leave aside. First a bit statistic. As a result of this, the forced Russification in Odessa live now about 28% of Russians. Let's leave aside for now the fact that this number is completely false and ask, is it enough to consider the city Odessa, this Russian city? So the next slide, please. In conclusion, Odessa has never had anything in common with Russia, Russians, or their culture. Unfortunately, it took the tragedy of May 2, 2014 to prove this obvious fact. On this Black Friday, 48 people were killed and another 174 injured in the house of the trade unions. Thank you. I'm finished now.
Thank you, Mykola, for this digest. It was very intense, and you finished with May 2014, which may be not very familiar story to our viewers, of course.
So, yeah.
Do you want to tell us more about this right now?
To tell the whole story, it will be take next 2 or 3 hours. But in very few words, in the spring of 2014, in Odessa was a so-called anti-Maidan, and this was an action in the center of the city, in front of the House of Trade Unions, the big place in Odessa, big square. And there's for several weeks, there was a camp of anti-Ukrainian people, demonstration. But day before, on the 1st of May, the city council asks these people go to some other place in order that in this square will be a military parade for 9th of May for to the glory of Second World War. So the part of the people, that anti-Ukrainian people, go from this place to another one. But another part on the 2nd of May shot some Ukrainian in the city from Kalashnikov, and then the big crowd of the from the street, it's not organized from anyone, go to this House of Trade Unions. But this anti-Ukrainian prepared a lot of Molotov cocktails, so the bottles with petroleum, and try to escape in this building, the House of Trade Unions. And these Molotov cocktails exploded, and house caught the fire. And in this fire was again 48 people were killed and 174 injured. And this was a finish of this anti-Ukrainian demonstration.
Thank
So
you.
I
This
think
was
they hope.
very...
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Go
Yeah.
on.
I think they hope. It was a very I think 100 or 200 people anti-Ukrainian who started this action and shot from Kalashnikov in the crowd in Odessa city, in pedestrian area. And I think they hope that Ukrainian, they believe in this propaganda that Odessa is Ukrainian city, and hope that crowd on the street will support them. But it's turned in other side, and crowd distracted them and caused this tragedy.
To be correct, believed in propaganda that Odessa is the Russian city. You wanted to say. Just to remind our viewers that this was in the context of Novorossiya project, which failed, Moscow decision to take over Donbass and expand further to Odessa, the same route they would want to take in 2022 and failed again. Odessa has not been taken, has been attacked for over 3 years now, and it's standing as a free city. We have seen attacks only last week.
Yeah.
Dr. Deutsch, please. I can translate. I can translate question if needed.
So far as the current situation is concerned, my impression was that Odessa served as a mecca for people from Russia who wanted to go on a summer vacation, and therefore there was an influx of a lot of Russian people during certain months, and that business people, shopkeepers catered to them, spoke Russian to them, and that gave a certain Russian flavor to Odessa. Please comment on that.
Вопрос о курортной стороне, поскольку Одесса всегда была курортным городом и приезжал народ со всей страны из Советского Союза, то, естественно, это давало ей некий русский такой, общались по-русски в это время. На базаре и везде.
No, that is what I said. The old people in Soviet Union spoke Russian. That's not that in Ukrainian. Either in Kiev or Lemberg or Lviv or Zaporizhia, you cannot hear in this time Ukrainian speaking. The Ukrainian, it was in the school, for example, in Ukrainian, we studied Ukrainian language as a foreign language only 2 hours per week, as a English or French or something like this. So it's not prohibited by Soviet power, but it's not used in the officially. We have all documents in 2 languages, the Ukrainian, Russian, but speaking only Russian, because the tourists have any problem to speak in Odessa or to get a service or something like this.
I would add that this was different, of course, from the Baltic countries, which managed to keep their language, and not everyone would be willing to talk Russian to you there.
Yes, it's the same situation I saw in Georgia, for example. Not in Tbilisi, but if you go in the mountain, yeah, in the villages, then nobody spoke Russian or very bad. But it's
the same was true for where we lived in Central Asia, in remote areas where Russian was, of course, taught in schools, but people didn't speak it too well. It was not a very successful policy of complete Russification, only to some extent. More questions or comments, please. I can talk also, but please, to our speaker, Katerina.
Thank you very much for the history. I actually had no idea how we ended up with Greek names of cities in Ukraine. So that was genuinely interesting. Thank you for the wider education about Odessa. I've had a chance to look at that quote from Mark Twain, and I understand better now, what the point of that was. And it's an excellent point. Twain himself is saying that even as early as his time, when he was in Odessa, he didn't see it as Russian at all. The contrast for him was very clear and very dramatic. In fact, he saw Odessa had more in common with American cities than it did with Russian cities. So when at the first glance, when you showed it, I saw that point, that it's a modern city, but I missed the whole bigger point, which is that as early as Twain's time, 19th century, that Odessa was very distinct and did not have that Russian flavor of the city. So I appreciate that very much. It's an excellent quote. Thank you for making us aware of it. And thank you for making time to talk to us again. I imagine now, are you in contact with anyone in Odessa right now? How are they doing? I mean, this is to be an awful time. It's a port city, right? So I imagine it has particular challenges during the war. Is food readily available, infrastructure functioning? How are things overall?
I'm not prepared to speak about the
current conditions,
more current situation. If I did, I could show you the picture of what is now with, for example, with a flat of my sister after the bombing. The bomb shot close to his house, and the house is opposite side of the street is completely destroyed, but in my sister flat is the only windows and lamps on the cellar is destroyed, and one of the door. So I have contact with. So again, I have on my phone all these pictures she sent me, and I stay in contact almost every day with my friends and my sister, her husband.
I can't imagine just the reality of living daily under war. I mentioned before the program that I've been editing some stories about the war, stories written about the last 3 years. And just reading that after a couple of hours is depressing and disheartening and crippling. I can't imagine actually living in a city that can be bombed and destroyed anytime, and having visible reminders, looking out the window and seeing, as you say, the destroyed flats, just the destruction. Like, it's absolutely heartbreaking. All the best to your sister and all of our brothers and sisters in Odessa and everywhere. I see Anara has got her hand up, so I'm going to yield the microphone to her. Thank you very much for presenting for us again.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much for your very interesting and unusual angle how to see the war, because sometimes we see white and black scale, but in reality you show there are certain international multicultural cities, and you may compare probably Odessa to Kharkov, Kiev, correct? And also in Ukraine we can see two different poles. On one side, multicultural international centers, and others, and at the same time more how to say, ethnically homogenic, more actually places like in eastern part of Ukraine or western part of Ukraine, and all these cities and different regions, they consider they see war in different ways, correct? And that's why my question is, what do you think about the future of multicultural development in cities and also in general in Ukraine? What might be your, just we can imagine that the war ended and the victory, but the next question, how to restore trust, how to restore multicultural environment in especially in big cities, and what do you think about this?
So I think it's would be the huge issue to restore it, because in the east, under the Russia power, the population turned to more to Russia culture, and but the best doctor, we say in German, and also in Soviet Union, maybe this is similar, you say in US, that the best doctor is a time. So we can get everything when the people in the East, when the East come back to Ukraine. At the moment, we hope all that Ukrainians still remain in this border of 1991, but who knows? But if it's happened and that the people come back and will be a part of Ukraine, so they will see that the future in Europe, in development, in everything, what is not possible in Russia. Even in if before 2014, the Russia was officially open society, and every Russian can go to Europe or US or Thailand or whatever. There was just quite different situation, and this situation, cultural situation, historical situation, and so on, and the situation still remain, from my point of view. After the war, is again, this will be the same. So the people in the border region, in Donbass or Lugansk, they will see what happened on the other side of the border, and they will, I think, more willing, more active to become part of Ukrainian society and part of Europe, and this way, so the way to democracy, way to freedom. And I say it's a good condition to to start after the war to change something.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mykola. Thank you again. Just to remind again our viewers that it is a long history, and you told us about 18th century and 19th. Odessa was also through 2 world wars. It was a theater of World War I, civil war in Russia. Part of my family was there at this time. My grandfather studied medicine in Odessa exactly 100 years ago, and then was evacuated with his hospital to Siberia in Second World War, and this way survived, not killed by Nazis. I want to at least mention the Jewish impact onto Odessa culture, which is much more known than any other, I would say. Enough to say that a lot of prominent Americans in movie industry, writers and everyone were by extraction Odessan Jewish people who came to this country. And maybe Mark Twain in his time already has caught some of this vibrancy, some of this entrepreneurship that was part of Odessa. What can you say, just briefly, maybe, on this impact of Jewish population, which is partially gone to Israel in our time, but still has huge influence in Odessa?
Yeah. Thank you for this question, Victor. It's it's a very huge topic, you know it, because the Jewish people has no right in Russia to live in the old city. Yeah, it was a special zones for where Jewish people can live and can stay. It was not allowed in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kiev, and the big cities and so on. So, but in Odessa, it wasn't. So a lot of Jewish people come. I told before this was a Еврейская street, Jewish street in Odessa, at the middle of the city. It's a very big street, and there was a lot of them. And of course, from this quantity come out the quality. Yeah, it was a lot of writer and poets and artists who have the big impact for the culture development in Ukraine and in the Russia and in the Soviet Union. I can give you 20 names right now, but you know by yourself, it was a very, very huge, and this, but that's for Jewish people. Maybe you know it, maybe not, but I know it from my own experience. It was a not official, but unofficial, prohibited to study in universities. It was so-called norm. About 5% of students could be Jewish. So, and then that I told it in my presentation, a lot of Jewish people change nationality on or name. I have two friends, two brothers. The one was both were Jewish, of course, but one, the oldest brother, has a Jewish name, surname, and the younger brother as a Ukrainian surname. And from this point, they come out the statistic. Now, in Odessa, officially live only 1.12% of Jewish people. It's absolutely false. It's not possible, because after Ukrainian, Jewish population is the biggest one, despite of the emigration to United States and Israel and in Germany. Yeah, it still remain, but it's reality of Soviet time and Soviet policy, national policy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And please ask more questions. I see some of our friends present. Some more questions or comments, please. At some time, Odessa was called the third capital of the Russian Empire by importance and prominence. The main port, warm port on the Black Sea, which was very important, of course. And as you said, Jewish Pale of Settlement fell at this point. Another question which I had, there was this concept of duty-free, Porto Franco, when Odessa started and developed. European and Turkish, all merchants were attracted to the city because of its tax-free, relaxed status. Can you tell something about this? When did it end? How did it go?
So it started by time. The first of all, maybe the Ekaterina II doesn't do nothing for Odessa. That's they made this order to expand the city, and she did. She died. Sorry, my English. She died in 2 years, and then the next king, Tsar, the Pavel I, canceled all activity for Odessa for the next 6 years. And after he's dead, come Alexander I, his son, and it was not his idea, but it was just automatically development, this grain traffic through Odessa port. It grows every day, and as I told you, it was a years from Odessa was exported more grain than from all ports of USA in this time. So
we're talking 1830s, maybe 1820s.
No. It was 1830s. It was finished with this rule, because the Moscow and St. Petersburg merchants didn't want to have. In Odessa was established the second stock exchange in Russia. The first one was in St. Petersburg, yes, and the second one in Odessa, because of the huge traffic of the goods through Odessa. And then they decided implement this Porto Franco, the free port, and the all goods come to Odessa without any charge. Now, and only if they go further to Russia, they have to pay tax for these goods. So, but again, it was not good for people in Moscow and St. Petersburg and in other cities, because Odessa was more important, and these goods from even with the tax was more cheaper and than Russia's, and or than the goods that come from through the St. Petersburg, for example. So, and then they decided to keep it, and I think it was about 20 years or something like this. But in Odessa is still remain the old Porto Franco street. That's the one street in Odessa that's not a straight, but it's comes from sea to sea, from one coast part of sea from to another one. And within this area was Odessa with port and the city, and outside was settlements with new settlements. It's Moldavanka, for example, is outside of the Porto Franco Street.
Thank you. These are all bits of history which many of us who are from this background know, but others may find interesting, because we are really talking here. We thank Mykola for talking to us about one of the most unique cities in the world, in fact. A city which is witness both to the spirit of its inhabitants and over many generations. We're talking 200 years. It's in this also comparable to American cities, because the very first slide you showed attracted me because you were talking about 1770s, 1790s. This is like starting the textbook on USA history. About the same time, all these movements of people, directed immigration, trade, and founding of new cities with very different fate in different parts of the globe. So thank you for your digest. If we have no more questions or comments from our audience, we thank you for this hour, for being with us. And Dr. Shrey, please, your final comments.
Дорогі браття і сестри в Україні, ми зберігаємо вас у наших щоденних думках і молитвах. Нехай милосердний Бог тримає вас у своїй опіці. До наступного тижня. Прощаємося.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Героям слава!